Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry
Yes.
weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running, 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada, and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the...
Good morning. Bonjour. Comment ça va? Ni hao. Hola. Ohio. Bienvenue. Wan Ying. Bienvenidos. Yokoso. And welcome. Welcome to another exciting episode of Gem Hunter Stories. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemological storyteller. And each and every week, I have the honor and privilege of coming into your home and taking you on a journey to places you've never been before, to hear stories you've never heard before. Each week, I get the magnificent opportunity to take you on a mental, physical, and spiritual adventure into the art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry. And because I know the transformational powers of stories, I know it, I've experienced it, I've seen the way it works with other people. I know that somewhere along the line, somewhere in this journey that you and I will take together, you're going to hear a story that's going to move you, a story that's going to make you look at the world in a different way. In my job, my mission each and every week is to create a sound that no one has ever heard. And my hope is that sound resonates inside of you. That sound activates the music that lives inside of your heart and inside of your mind. And then you take that sound and use it as a template, as a bridge, as an inception point to help you move along your journey to discovering the value of your own stories. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I hope all of you guys had a great Christmas or holidays, whatever you celebrate. I have to be mindful of the fact that the Gem Hunter Stories is in 5 different continents. There's people from all over the world. So again, happy holidays. And this is going to be the last Wednesday of December of the last month of 2021. And for those of you who are born or who were born in December, welcome and happy birthday. I know a few people who were born in December, and I'm really excited about it. One person in particular, and I'm just putting her on blast, is Reverend Ava Tony, who was born today. Happy birthday. She is the gemstones of December are her gemstones. And for anyone else who was born in December, oh, have I got news for you? Have I got a show for you? Yes, this is one of those shows you need to take a piece of paper and a pencil out because I'm going to definitely be creating some flavor for your ears. All right. When I say discover the value of your stories, what I want you to understand is I'm not talking about it from a one-dimensional point of view. As you know, I appraise gemstones. I'm a gemological appraiser. And when you appraise a gemstone, you have to look at a gemstone in its entirety. You have to look at a piece of jewelry in its entirety. If I was going to appraise my ring, what I would have to do is I would have to look at the gold. What is the carriage of the gold? Is it 14 karat gold, 18 karat gold, 24 karat gold? This is actually 18 karat gold. That means 75% of it is gold and the rest is some other type of metal because gold is very soft. I would have to look at the gemstones. The gemstones that's in my ring are the same gemstones. Oh, this is the logo. This is the symbol of the Gem Hunter. Rubies, sapphires, citrine, emeralds at the bottom at the 6 o'clock position. Of course, gold and diamonds. I would have to literally look at the quality of each gemstone, measure it out, figure out what the size, the dimensions are, what is in terms of the diamonds, what is the color, the cut, the clarity, the carat weight. And I have to put all that information together, which is also called a story, in order to get to the value of that gemstone, of this ring. The same is true for the gemstones for relationships and the gemstones that we are looking at this month, because what are the gemstones for December? Okay, a quick question. What are the gemstones for December that we have actually gone over? The first gemstone that we looked at was turquoise. And I told you that turquoise is a gemstone that, let's just deal with turquoise, is one of the oldest gemstones. This is the original gemstone that mankind looked at thousands of years ago. They were mining turquoise 5,000 BC. All the cultures, all the major cultures of the world had turquoise as its gemstone. And as I told you, the thing about turquoise, to me, the magical thing is, how could one gemstone have a specific type of structure, a specific color, and that color, that structure, that quality spoke to not only people in Egypt, the Assyrians, the Asian part, the Japanese and Chinese, people from Indonesia. The turquoise was highly valued in Southwestern, Central American, and South American countries. So when we're talking about value, the value has to look at we have to look at the whole thing. What is the value of turquoise? What are the characteristics of turquoise? What is that I told you before that turquoise, when you buy turquoise, you have to understand that turquoise is idiochromatic, which means the color of turquoise is built in. The iron that's in the structure of turquoise is what gives turquoise its color. So there is some variation of the colors of turquoise, but the bottom line is the structure, what makes turquoise, you have to consider that's already built in. How does that relate to relationships? And that's what I'm going to be doing this whole show, going back, really getting you to understand the similarities, the connections, the analogies between gemstones and people. So if I say to you that turquoise is this color, or some variation of blue and green, bluish green, then you have to understand that that's what turquoise is. So if you meet a man or a woman who has certain characteristics, then you have to understand that that person is those characteristics. It's built in. It's who they are. If you, and that's the mistake so many of us make. We make a mistake by saying we weren't turquoise, but that's not what we get. That's not what we get when we get turquoise. When we meet someone, we say, oh, we want this. We see maybe one characteristic, but then we don't see anything else. We don't see all the other characteristics, all the other things that make that person that you're with who that person is. We don't take time to listen to it. And if we do listen, we don't listen to it. We don't listen to their story. We don't listen to their story because in order to get to value, and this is going to sound real familiar because I said it in the beginning, the only way you get to value is via a story. Nothing, write this down, nothing has value without a story. So as today is December 29th, again, Ava's birthday. Say happy birthday, world. Happy birthday. I'm just teasing her because she's like, oh my God, I can't believe he said my name more than once. What I want you to do as we're moving into the brand new year, 2022, begin to step back, become an appraiser in your own life and say to yourself, what are the things around me? Who are the people around me? What value do they bring to my life? What value do I bring to their life? Because it's a two-way street. When I appraise a piece of jewelry, I'm not just looking at it from just the point of view of what it is in Chicago. Jade in Chicago, the value of jade, if I was looking at jade in Chicago, has a whole completely different meaning than jade in Asian countries. If I look at turquoise, if some of the finest turquoise in the world comes from Iran, comes from Afghanistan. In fact, one of the gemstones that Alexander the Great went to Iran, or which was Persia at that time, part of the reason why he invaded Persia was because of the level of the quality of turquoise. The quality of turquoise. So when you understand what something is, when you understand where it comes from, I told you that turquoise is a stone of wholeness. It's a stone of communication. So if you're in a relationship and communication is something that is important to you, then you would get someone that has turquoise-like characteristics. You want someone who considers a relationship as a holistic thing, not just me to my girlfriend or my wife, but my wife feelings and her emotions as it relates to me. If you want someone who is a communicator, then you would get turquoise, or you would have someone of those qualities. My ex-wife, part of the reason why I speak for a living, I am a storyteller, really came from an insult. As I told you, my ex-wife told me, "Oh my God, you talk all the time. Jesus Christ, I'm so tired of you talking." And one day, when I was out, I was doing construction as I was working my way through gemology school, because she actually was an executive in a construction firm. And I thought it would be a great way for me to understand what is it like to work in mines and digging. So I worked in a construction firm, and I'm out there, just me, God, and all this wood that I had to pull the nails out of, and this big giant back front loader. And I said to myself, I do talk a lot. Talking is what I do. My ex-wife called me a fountain of useless information because of the things that I would talk about with gemology. And she said, "Oh, nobody wants to learn that. Nobody wants to hear that." So what did I have to do? I had to be and find someone who my voice, my sound spoke to them. Doesn't make her wrong. It doesn't make her wrong. And that's what a lot of us do. We make the other person wrong because of the characteristics that they didn't accept your characteristics. They didn't accept your story. They didn't accept your value. So someone who owns turquoise, and I know people who have beautiful turquoise pieces. The national gemstone of Iran is turquoise. So you may not care about that piece of turquoise that's sitting in your drawer, in your closet, but if you went to Iran or Persia, if you went to Iran or India or Tibet, the Tibetan monks, turquoise is the stone. So the value increases because of the way people value. The value of the stone you own increases based on where you are, based on the way someone values that stone. That's turquoise. The next stone we talked about, and this is what makes December so cool. December has 3 gemstones. The first one was turquoise. The second one is tanzanite. Tanzanite. And the thing, ladies, this show is really a lot for guys. I'm sorry, guys. It's this gemstones and women. It's just so easy for me to talk about. So, guys, I'm not leaving you out, but I just need you to understand you need to get in where you fit in, okay? But ladies, think about the names. Those of you especially who are born in December, think about the names of the stones that are your gemstone. Turquoise. Let's go back to turquoise for a second. Turquoise is the only gemstone that has a color named after it. Yeah. when you say turquoise, there's a certain understanding, which again, value. There's a certain understanding that you have. There's a certain expectation that you have in regards to the color, in regards to the way the lines, the matrix looks on the stone. There's a certain color and creaminess to that stone that you expect when you hear turquoise. Then we have tanzanite. Tanzanite. Think about it. Think about just the power of what tanzanite is. We're talking about a stone, the only stone, a stone that's only found here at the foothills of Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in the whole continent of Africa. They call it the roof of Africa. The tallest, one of these days, my bucket list is to climb to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, just to see the sunrise just one time. That's something I want to do. But 40 miles away from that is where the tanzanite mines are. If you are into tanzanite, you understand that tanzanite does not look like this. Tanzanite looks like this. Just pebbles, rocks. You would not think anything if you looked at tanzanite and you saw this rock right here, you would walk right past it. Tanzanite, in order to produce this color, you have to take tanzanite and heat it. You have to heat it in an oven that is 1,112 degrees Fahrenheit in order to get this color. That is the expectation for and all tanzanite requires that treatment. Some tanzanite requires not only the treatment of heating, but you also have to, some tanzanite is coated, which actually will bring out more of that color. If you have a tanzanite, then you understand that tanzanite is a relatively soft stone. Tanzanite has a hardness of 6.5 to 7. So it's a relatively soft stone. You have to understand that tanzanite is not a durable stone. You don't wear tanzanite every day. It's not a ring I would ever have on my hand because tanzanite would break. It's brittle. So when you hit tanzanite, if I was to, and I hit this ring all the time, if I had tanzanite in this ring, more than likely I would have broken the stone by now. But tanzanite, what makes tanzanite special is that tanzanite is pleochromic. Pleochromic, when we talked about before, look at your notes. What does pleochromic mean? Pleochromic means that the way the light interacts with tanzanite, when you look at tanzanite from a specific angle, there's a color change. It looks different depending on the angle that you're looking at it. So now let's put that in terms of people. If you are at a club and you meet this, and I'll give the guys a little bit of love, ladies, you meet this guy that is just exotic. His whole exotic for you, whatever that may be. He's tall, he's short, he's strong, he has muscles, whatever that thing is that gets you activated, that activates your blood, whatever that is for you, and you meet that person, you have to understand if he has the characteristics of tanzanite, that means that you have to work with him. He was treated. There was things that he had to do in order to become the person that you see today. Gentlemen, guys, if tanzanite speaks directly to women, as I told you before, get into your head, there's no woman who does not have to do something to elevate who she is. Some women choose not to. Some women choose where this is their look, and they're very comfortable with their look, and they're beautiful in their own way. So if you value rough Tanzanite, and I'm saying rough just because that's what I'm not saying rough in regards to women. If you require or desire a woman or a man who does not want to take care of themselves or look a certain way. There's some women who don't like lipstick. There's some women who don't like makeup. I know women who their hair is just their hair and that's it. So if that's what you have bought into, then you have accepted who that person is. Again, discover the value of that person's story. What does value mean to you? If you, and on the flip side, you might meet someone who is Tanzanite, but you see them in more of the rough form. This was me 29 years ago, living on the streets of Chicago. Nobody had any idea who I was. All they saw a guy with hair on his face, and of course I had hair then, hair and disheveled and everything else, smelled horrible. So that was me. I was Tanzanite. I hadn't been heated. I hadn't been treated. I was just a pebble walking down the streets of Michigan Avenue. No money, no home, same clothes I wore the day before, the day before, the day before, the day before, the day before. So it took people in my life for 29 years, though there were people in my life, and those of you who are watching this show today know who they are, who took me aside and said, hey, you could be more. Reverend Tony, Ava Tony was one of those people. Years ago, she met me and said, wow, maybe you need to do this. Maybe you should consider this. And I said, that was the heating. That was the treatment that I needed to become Tanzanite. To become that color that I am today. So if you meet someone who has the qualities of Tanzanite, if that's what you want, when you hear that person's story and you see the things that person went through, this is what I learned back from, as I said, as a child. Why was my mother late all the time? She was late when my father would want to take her out because she told me what she had to do to become. When at 8 o'clock in the morning, when my father would say, Anna, 8 o'clock in the morning, my mother looked like this. And my father said, Anna, we going out tonight. Be ready. My mother was never ready, not on time. But she would tell us all the time, just hold on. When you see me, you'll understand. And so when my mother came out, half an hour, 45 minutes later, she just stood in the middle of the living room and said, ta-da, or excuse me, voila. And that is who she became. But what she told me early on in my life of how she had to go from this to this. See, that's what I'm saying. The characteristics of gemstones speaks directly to who we are as human beings. So again, that's beautiful. Tanzanite has that beautiful bluish and blue and violet with just flashes of gold or yellowish color. That's Tanzanite. So Tanzanite is a highly pleochromatic gemstone. In fact, one of the characteristics of Tanzanite is to be able to separate those colors. In fact, it's only in untreated Tanzanite, like this, let's see, this stone, This one right here would be more of the blue and untreated. And if you tested this stone because it wasn't treated, then it was heated probably by the sun, but it wasn't treated to another level, then you would get all three colors. When you have treated tanzanite, oftentimes you only have two colors, which is fine. You don't see that third color, or it doesn't describe it. So as a gemologist, as an appraiser, I have to see all the characteristics. What is it? What is it? And I told you, tanzanite came from the value of tanzanite increased because of this stone. This is called the cashmere sapphire. Sapphire is a completely different stone. Is it blue? Yes, it is blue, just like tanzanite. But this is a sapphire, a cashmere sapphire. And so when they ran out of the mine, it was mined out. There was no more cashmere sapphire. When they discovered that African man discovered this rock that had been heated by the sun, and he literally presented this, that's when Tiffany's realized that they wanted to elevate this stone. This is basically, tanzanite is a zocite, which has 7 different colors. There's blue, there's green, there's yellow, there's orange zocite, but the most valuable is tanzanite, the blue variety. So they gave it that beautiful, they didn't call it, actually in the gem trade, gemologists, we just call this blue zocite. But in order to elevate the value of it, we call it tanzanite. So that person, this is where it relates to the people who are the J-Los or the Rihannas or whoever beautiful stars that you see all the time. That's not what J-Lo looks like every day. Any man who's ever been with a woman in her life should know at this point that the woman that you see, the makeup, the hair, the weave, the nails, that's not what she looks like at 3 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning when she wakes up in the morning. That's not what she looks like. So if you have a tanzanite in your life, then you have to understand what she has to do or what he has to do to become tanzanite. And next, we're going to deal with, I saved the best for last. We're going to deal with the third gemstone of December, which is called zircon. And we'll talk about this on the other side.
I'm hanging on your every word, the love inside, I feel it burn. I've never felt this way before. I've had a taste, now I want more. So here we are, just you and me. I'm overwhelmed when you touch me. You talk so sweet, I hear the sound. 'Cause when you do, my feet won't touch the ground.
All right, we are back. Sometimes these commercials are so good. Thank you to our producer, Barbara. Sometimes I'm just sitting there in the back and just dancing. So, again, 3 gemstones for the month of December. All my people, all the my gem hunter family that was born in December. You have turquoise. You have tanzanite. And last but not least, you have zircon. Now, and this is when I talk about us going on a journey together. The reason why you hear me and see me excited every week, because I've learned all this. I've been doing gemology for 18 years. And it's only really been in the last few years that I began to understand how it relates to stories. So each and every week when I tell you that I'm going to take you on a journey, that's because it's a place I've already been. And zircon is the quintessential example of that. Most people don't even realize that, one, December has 3 gemstones, and 2, what zircon is. And the big mistake with zircon is that most people confuse it with cubic zirconia. Cubic zirconia is a man-made gemstone. It's a man-made, it's made in the lab. But zircon is an amazing gemstone. Zircon is, when you see zircon, you're talking about a gemstone. If you own a zircon, zircon is 4.5 billion years old. I'm going to let you think about that for a second. Here's a gemstone that is 4.5 billion years old. Zircon is a gemstone. It basically, the chemical composition of zircon is zirconium silicate. Again, here's that one of those names. So you got turquoise. Hi, I'm turquoise. You got tanzanite. And I think about my viewer and friend, Sonia Wilson. She could probably say it so weird, it just seems like it was dripping off. Hi, I'm tanzanite. And then you have zircon, a stone that has been around for 4,000 years. Zircon is exotic. You find zircon in countries like Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Madagascar, Korea, Australia, Mozambique, what's another place? Nigeria, and of course, Tanzania, zircon. Now, there are different colors of zircon, and the thing that makes zircon, in fact, let me tell you how old zircon is before I even leave the thought. Zircon was one of the gemstones in the Bible. It was called hyacinth. Hyacinth. It's hyacinth. It's one of the 12 gemstones from the 12 tribes of Israel. Yes, I'm speaking a little bit of Bible stuff. Thank you. I've learned it by osmosis, really. But that was one of the gemstones. So when I would hear hyacinth, I never really knew what gemstone what gemstone are they talking about? That is what zircon was called in ancient times. But it's not cubic zirconia. So when you go to a jewelry store and the man is or woman is telling you that this is a zircon or this is a CZ, it is not zircon. Zircon has its own molecular structure. Now, the thing about zircon is extremely resistant. It has a hardness of about 6.5 to maybe 7.5, but it's extremely resilient. Think about it. This is a gemstone that you can find in soils, you can find in lakes, you can find in mountains. You can find in sand. Zircon and has survived 4.5 billion years. So this gemstone is a gemstone that has existed for the whole time of the planet. Metaphysically, zircon is a gemstone that speaks to all the chakras. All of the 6 or 7 chakras zircon speaks to, because what makes zircon different, and as I told you in the beginning, the purpose of this show is to take the metaphysics. One of the purposes is to take the metaphysics of a gemstone and see how does it work from a scientific point of view. So for the last 12 months, the last year, we've been here together every Wednesday on the Gem Hunter Stories. I've told you a different type of gemstone. And each one of those gemstones relates to human beings in a specific way. A gemstone may elevate the mind. A gemstone may create a different level of consciousness. What zircon does, and if you understand, if you believe that, and again, what we talked about, again, no gemstone has a specific characteristic. It's not intrinsic. We talked about that last time. There's no quality, there's no characteristic that we talked about with gemstone that's intrinsic. So when I say that zircon has a characteristic of being able to relate to and activate all the chakras of the body, that's not what you see when you see zircon. This is zircon. This is zircon. Zircon is a brownish, usually a brownish red, or maybe a brownish yellow type of gemstone or gem material. Like tanzanite, zircon. Here's tanzanite. Here's tanzanite. And here's zircon. So again, gem identification. How many people would be able to walk down the street and you see this gemstone, you see this rock, you may have kicked it. You kicked it, or your kid is playing, put that rock down. Okay, mommy. And you put the rock down. But if you didn't understand that that child had a zircon in her hand or in his hand, then you would never know what it is. You would never know what that gemstone can become. This is a zircon. Zircon, what makes zircon special is that zircon has two things. It has a high, what's called a high refractive index. A high refractive index means that zircon has a great brilliance. That's why zircon was often used as an imitation or substitute for diamonds. There's lots of times when I'm appraising someone's pieces of jewelry, there has been times in my career where someone who thought they had a diamond actually, and unfortunately, because most of the time they paid for a diamond, they had zircon. If you don't know, you don't know. You don't understand what you're looking. That's why it's important to go to a gemologist or a reputable jewelry store to make sure that you are actually getting what you want. Zircon it has a high refractive index. So the brilliance, that shine, that brilliance that we love in diamonds so much, zircon has that. Zircon has that. So at first glance, you may not be able to tell what it is if you're looking at the colorless variety of zircon. Zircon comes in colorless, yellow, brown, red, orange, violet, blue, and green. The molecular structure of zircon gives it that level of freedom that it has those type of colors, but not in the exact same way as other gemstones have. It's zircon. How can I explain it? It's not just the colors. It's not just allochromatic, meaning the element is inside of it, but because zircon is almost an amorphous type of gemstone. Zircon can move, especially the green variety. The green variety of zircon comes about by literally having uranium or thorium, two radioactive elements inside. Green diamonds happen the same way. So what happens with zircon, because of the molecular structure of zircon, even though this green gemstone is green and looks solid, it actually is not. It's like glass. It's amorphous. Amorphous is something that basically is shapeless. So within the outside of this looks solid. But on a molecular level, imperceptible to the human eye, the molecules are actually moving, because that's what the radioactive material, uranium, thorium, does. It changes the molecular structure, so it becomes green. Same thing that happens with green diamonds. That's how they found out about how green diamonds came about. Some guy, I forgot the gentleman's name, he took a diamond, a colorless diamond, and he put it into a hole with a piece of uranium. He buried it. He left it over time. The diamond became green in color. The only problem was he didn't understand the powers of radioactivity, so he died from radiation poisoning because of the radiation that was in zircon. In fact, the same thing happens to zircon. When I first started in the gemstone industry, there was a time when they started making a lot of zircon comes from China, and the way to get that blue color, sometimes they use radioactive bombardment or heating to get that blue color. And what was happening was they weren't allowing the gemstone to go to a half-life. So some of the gemstones that they were sending out as jewelry was slightly radioactive. Nobody died, nobody got sick, but it was slightly radioactive. So again, zircon has a certain brilliance because of a high refractive index. Now, as I said to you, that colorless zircon was often used as a substitute for diamonds. So those of you who say, well, how do you tell the difference? You tell the difference this way. A diamond is what's called singly refracted. That means when the beam of light goes through a diamond, the beam goes through, it's actually, as I told you, all gemstones slow down the speed. It's one of the few things that can slow the speed of light. And that's a really deep concept when you think about it, because that's what Einstein was saying, E equals mc squared. So you're talking about how do you do time travel? Time travel resists. You would have to literally travel faster than the speed of light. And Einstein said you can't do that. So, but the magical things about gemstones is gemstones basically slow down the speed of light. So when you have light traveling through a diamond, it is singly refracted, meaning the wave goes straight through. With gemstones like zircon is doubly refracted. Look at this. Look at the middle. Look at right here. Look at it right here. You see how it looks like it's double images? That's what's called being doubly refracted. So you see, if you put that gemstone under words, you would see, if I just said hunter, you would see hunter, two versions of it. It would be doubly refracted. That's how you can tell the difference between zircon or even cubic zirconia and a real diamond. So when I appraise someone's diamonds, the first thing, just natural, the first thing I'm looking at is how does it interact with the light? Isn't it the same thing in relationships? When you have been in relationships long enough, when you have reached 50, 60 years old, you've been married a couple of times, you've been in many relationships, at some point in time, you should be able to tell just by spending time with them. I won't say just by looking at them. That's the whole problem. You can't tell. We've gone over that many times. You can't just look at something and decide what it is. But once you have spent time with that person, after a while, you should just start saying, oh, okay. If you like to eat, I remember being in a meeting with women, and there were men and women, and we were talking about different types of food and everything else, and restaurants and cooking. And some of the people in the room, there were some guys, there was women, they were, I love to cook. I love to cook, and my husband loves me to cook because I'm a good. And if you're someone who likes to eat, and you're with and then you're in the room and you hear somebody in that room, which actually happened, where the woman said, I don't like to cook. If my husband wanted to eat, he better go to a restaurant and learn how to cook himself. Then you don't want to be with that person. If you were looking for a diamond, which is singly refracted, and the person tells you that they're zircon, they look like a diamond. They have that sparkle of a diamond. Zircon has what's called a strong dispersion, meaning the way it breaks up the light. So zircon, color zircon has a fire to it, just like a diamond. It's called scintillation. That's when when the woman is sitting there with her glass and you see the ring just sparkling from across the room. That's called scintillation. And zircon has that very strong dispersion. There's been times when I have seen someone's ring or earring and said, "Whoa." And I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, okay," because then I would see the double refraction things. But at first glance, it looked like a diamond. And some of you watching this show right now, know, because you're putting on your earrings, getting ready to go to work or whatever, and you know those are not diamonds. But you play it off like it is diamonds. It's either cubic zirconia or moissanite or something. But the way to imitate a diamond is you have to have that brilliance. You have to have that fire. Zircon. So again, zircon comes in different colors. You have blue, you have green, you have yellow, you even have red. Here's the red zircon. Here's red zircon. You can see the double refraction. You can see, and notice that there's a difference between this gemstone and garnet. We talked about garnet is next month. Garnet most people know of the red variety of garnet, but garnet does not have the molecular structure of zircon. It might be red, but it's not a ruby. It's not a garnet. It's not a tourmaline. Think about how many red gemstones we have seen in the past year together, you and I, but it didn't look like this. So again, put in terms of relationships. Think about this year as you're sitting, as today's the 29th. We got 2 more days. 3, I'll count today. Today is not over. So we got 3 more days. Today, tomorrow, the 31st to 2022. Take the time to think about who are the people in your life. The person you're married to, the person who your friend, the person who you're dating, the person who you're working with. Who are those people? Take time. Maybe make a commitment. Maybe your New Year's resolution this year can be to take the time to discover the value of the people that are around you. What are their characteristics? What is the things that make them different? Or what are the things that make them similar to you? Zircon is also a stone that is brittle. Zircon is a brittle stone. It has a durability of it, but there's a problem with zircon. Zircon can be brittle, especially around the edges. So if you have and that's another reason why zircon fell out of favor, because when they created cubic zirconia, they found a more inexpensive way to simulate a diamond. Zircon is found everywhere in the world, but it's found in very, very small quantities. And usually the gemstones are very, very small. So again, if you are with a person that is a zircon, what characteristics are they? Are they brittle? Brittle meaning that you don't want to go into a business with someone who's a zircon because it's not going to work. They may be pretty. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful stone. You had to heat it. You had to irradiate it to get that color, because originally it looked like this. This is what it looked like. This stone looked like this in the beginning. So this stone has to have something. If you're an employer and you're trying to hire someone, what is that person's characteristics? On paper, excuse me, on paper, that person, or to look at that person may look like this, but given some time to elevate themselves, given some time to educate themselves, given some training, that person can go from that to this. The question is, are you willing to take that time to invest in them, to make them into this? Are you willing to take the time to invest in yourself next year to become the gemstone that you want to become? That's the question. Discover the value of your story next year, 2022, and you can start from right today. What is it that you're going to do differently this year, next year, that you didn't do next year, the last year, or this year, or the year before, or the year before, the year before that? And what I hope is, since this is the last show of 2021, I hope this year that we've been together, you have begun to see not only just the value of your own stories, all the things that make you you, and you see how that correlates to something that is 4.5 billion years old. The same characteristics that you see in this zircon are the same characteristics that could be found in some of you. So again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy birthday to all of you who are born in December. I'm looking forward to working with you, being with you, discovering more stories next year on the Gem Hunter Story. So again, as I say every show, my name is Barry Mixon. I am a gemological storyteller, and all I would like for you to do is take the time to look around, look at your life, look at yourself in the mirror, and discover the value of your own stories. Au revoir, Atatella. See you next year.